As we come into chapter 3 of the Gospel of John, it's nighttime. And we find this religious leader named Nicodemus, one of the great teachers of Israel, one of the leaders of the Jewish ruling body called the Sanhedrin, coming to Jesus at night. And he calls Jesus a teacher, and he recognizes Jesus does powerful miracles that he had done at the end of the Gospel of John chapter 2. And it seems like he's coming because he wants more information. He wants teaching from Jesus. And I just love what we see here. We see here that we don't need more teaching or information. We need transformation. Jesus says to Nicodemus, "Nicodemus, you must be born again." You see, he's telling him it doesn't matter really who your parents were. God has no grandchildren. You need a new birth. When he says you must be born again, he says there's no other option. It's not enough to be religious or to be educated or these kinds of things. You need a transformation on the inside. A little bit later in this, he says you need to be born of water and the Spirit. Now this has confused a lot of people, but this is actually a reference back to the prophet Ezekiel, chapter 36, verses 25 to 27. Where multiple times God says, I will do this to you. I will do that to you. What does he say? I will wash you on the inside and you will be clean. I will give you a new heart and put my Spirit inside of you. You see, God doesn't just renovate the outside. The Pharisees, the religious leaders like Nicodemus, were good at getting good looking on the outside. Jesus says you need to be made new on the inside. You need to be born again into God's family. And when he says this here, Nicodemus should have known this. He was a teacher of Israel. We need to know this. God wants to do something on the inside. And then at the middle of the chapter, we see one of the most famous verses in the Bible. Often if you go to a sports game, it's held up on a sign. John 3:16. And it says something very special about Jesus. God sent Jesus into the world, it says, and Jesus is the unique, the one of a kind, or most Bibles say only begotten or one and only Son of God. You see, we get to become God's children when we're born again, when we trust in Jesus. We're adopted into the family. But do you remember how John's Gospel began? In the beginning, Jesus was already there. He is the Creator. He is God. He has always been God's one and only Son. We get the privilege, if we believe in Him, to be brought into the family, but He's always been God's Son. Just like God the Father has always been the Father, Jesus has always been the Son. When we come into chapter 4, we're going to see a totally different life transformed by Jesus Christ.